The first test came back normal. The doctor smiled when she told me. She said whatever I'd been experiencing, it wasn't showing up in my blood work. She suggested stress, maybe anxiety. She said to monitor my symptoms and come back if anything changed. I left that appointment feeling relieved and dismissed because my symptoms hadn't changed. They were still there. But apparently, they didn't matter because the test said I was fine. I'm 41. I teach high school English. I've been married for 15 years. I have 2 kids. I'm the person people describe as reliable, steady, not someone who overreacts or imagines things. So when I started feeling off 6 months ago, I didn't immediately run to the doctor. I waited. I observed. I tried to rationalize what was happening to my body. The fatigue was the first sign, not the normal tired you feel at the end of a long day. This was different, deeper. I'd wake up after 8 hours of sleep feeling like I hadn't slept at all. By noon, I'd be struggling to stay awake at my desk. I started drinking more coffee. It didn't help. Then came the weight loss. 10 pounds in 6 weeks. I wasn't trying. I was eating the same amount, maybe even more, because I was constantly hungry. But the pounds kept falling off. My husband noticed. He said I looked gaunt. I told him I'd been stressed. Teacher evaluations, parent conferences, budget cuts. There was always something to blame it on. The night sweats started in month 3. I'd wake up drenched, sheet-soaked, heart racing. I'd change my pajamas and go back to sleep. In the morning, I'd tell myself it was perimenopause. I was the right age. It made sense. I didn't need a doctor to tell me what was happening to my body. But then the tremors began, just in my hands at first. A slight shake when I held my coffee cup. A quiver when I was writing on the board. I started gripping the chalk harder, using dry erase markers instead, finding ways to hide it from my students and colleagues. My husband insisted I see someone, so I made an appointment. I told the doctor everything: the fatigue, the weight loss, the sweats, the tremors. She listened carefully. She asked questions. She ordered blood work, standard metabolic panel, thyroid function, blood sugar, all the usual suspects. And the test came back normal. Everything was normal. My thyroid was fine. My blood sugar was fine. My electrolytes were balanced. My liver and kidney function were perfect. On paper, I was the picture of health. The doctor said it again, kindly but firmly. It was probably stress. Maybe I should consider therapy. Maybe I needed to take better care of myself. Exercise more, eat better, get more sleep. All the things I was already doing. All the things that weren't helping. I nodded. I thanked her. I took the printed test results home and put them in a drawer. And I tried to believe that she was right, that it was all in my head, that I just needed to manage my stress better. But my body kept on deteriorating. The weight loss continued. Another 8 pounds. My clothes hung loose. My wedding ring slipped off. My face looked hollow in photographs. People at work started asking if I was okay, if I was sick. I said no, just busy, just tired, because that's what the test said. I was fine. The tremors got worse. Both hands now. Sometimes my whole arms. I'd be standing in front of my classroom and my hands would shake so badly I'd have to put them behind my back. I'd be eating dinner with my family and my fork would rattle against the plate. My daughter asked why I was shaking. I said I was cold. She turned up the heat. I kept shaking. I started having heart palpitations. Random moments where my heart would suddenly race, pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. It would last 30 seconds, maybe a minute, then stop. I'd be left breathless and shaken. But I didn't go back to the doctor, because what would I say? The test was normal. She'd already told me I was fine. My husband was getting scared. He'd watch me across the dinner table, see how little I ate, how much weight I'd lost, how my hands tremored. He'd suggest I get a second opinion. I'd say no. The test was normal. What was another doctor going to tell me that the first one didn't? But 4 months after that first test, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I'd lost 30 pounds total. I could barely make it through a full school day without exhausting myself. I was shaking constantly. The palpitations were happening multiple times a day, and I finally admitted something the test had missed. I went back to the doctor. Not the same one. A different one. Someone who didn't have the first test results in front of her. Someone who would look at me with fresh eyes. This doctor took one look at me and frowned. She asked how long I'd been experiencing symptoms. I said 6 months. She asked if I'd been tested. I said yes. She asked what they'd tested for. I listed everything. She nodded slowly. Then she said something that changed everything. She said, "Those are all good tests, but they're not the right tests for what I'm seeing." She felt my neck. She asked me to swallow. She noticed something, a slight swelling I hadn't even registered. She asked about heat intolerance. I said yes. About anxiety or feeling jittery. I said yes. About changes in my menstrual cycle. I said yes. She ordered a different test, not the standard thyroid panel the first doctor had run, a more comprehensive one, TSH, T3, T4, and thyroid antibodies. She said the basic test can miss things, that sometimes the first result looks normal, but the full picture tells a different story. I went to the lab that afternoon. They drew blood. I went home and waited. The doctor said she'd call in 3 days with the results. Those 3 days were the longest of my life, because I was caught between hope and fear. Hope that this test would finally show something, that I'd have an answer, an explanation, a treatment, and fear that it would come back normal again, that I'd be back to square one, that no one would believe me. The doctor called on day 2. She asked me to come in, not over the phone, in person. That's when I knew. I sat in her office the next morning, hands shaking in my lap, while she pulled up my results on her computer. She turned the screen toward me. And there it was, the thing the first test had missed. My thyroid-stimulating hormone was normal. That's what the first test had checked. But my T3 and T4 levels were through the roof, and my thyroid antibodies were elevated. I had Graves' disease. My thyroid was overactive, had been for months, destroying my body from the inside, while the first test said everything was fine. The doctor explained it all. The weight loss, the tremors, the heart palpitations, the night sweats, the fatigue. Everything I'd been experiencing was textbook hyperthyroidism. All of it preventable if the first doctor had ordered the right tests. She referred me to an endocrinologist. She prescribed medication to control my thyroid levels while we figured out a long-term plan. She apologized that it had taken so long to catch. She said sometimes the standard panels miss things, that I should have pushed harder for more comprehensive testing. But how was I supposed to know? How was I supposed to demand tests I didn't know existed? How was I supposed to advocate for myself when a medical professional told me I was fine? I started treatment the next day. Beta blockers for my heart, methimazole to suppress my thyroid. The endocrinologist said we'd monitor my levels every few weeks and adjust as needed. He said I'd been suffering unnecessarily for months, that if I'd waited much longer, I could have had a thyroid storm, a life-threatening crisis. I asked him why the first test didn't catch it. He said the TSH test is usually enough for most people, but in early-stage Graves' disease, the TSH can be in the normal range while the actual thyroid hormones are elevated. It's rare, but it happens. And when it happens, patients suffer because the doctors stop looking. Within 2 weeks of starting medication, I felt different. The tremors lessened. The heart palpitations became less frequent. I could sleep through the night without waking up drenched in sweat. My energy started returning slowly. Not all at once, but gradually, I began to feel like myself again. The weight took longer to come back. It took months of eating deliberately, working with a nutritionist, rebuilding my strength. But eventually, I regained the 30 pounds I'd lost. My face filled out again. My wedding ring fit. I looked like a person instead of a ghost. But the emotional damage took even longer to heal. Because for 6 months, I'd been told nothing was wrong. That it was stress. That it was in my head. That I just needed to take care of myself better. I'd internalized that message. I'd started to believe that I was the problem. That I was weak. That I was imagining things. And it turned out I wasn't. My body had been screaming at me the entire time, and the first test had just missed it. I think about that often, how close I came to giving up, to accepting that diagnosis of stress and anxiety and just living with the symptoms. How many people are out there right now being told they're fine when they're not? When the test was just incomplete, when the doctor stopped looking too soon. I talk about it now. When colleagues mention mysterious symptoms that doctors can't explain, I tell them my story. I tell them to push for comprehensive testing, to get second opinions, to trust their bodies over test results that don't match what they're experiencing. Because normal doesn't always mean healthy. Sometimes it just means they didn't look hard enough. My endocrinologist eventually recommended radioactive iodine treatment to destroy my overactive thyroid. I had the procedure 8 months after my diagnosis. Now, I take thyroid replacement medication every day. My thyroid is gone, but it's controlled, predictable, better than the chaos of Graves' disease. I keep both test results in a folder at home. The first one that said everything was normal. The second one that showed the truth. Sometimes I look at them side by side. 2 pieces of paper from the same body just weeks apart. One said I was fine. One said I was dying. Only one of them was listening to what my body was actually saying. I'm grateful for the second doctor. The one who looked beyond the standard test. Who saw me, not just my lab values, who trusted that when a patient says something is wrong, something probably is wrong, even if the first test doesn't show it. But I'm angry too. Angry that it took so long, that I suffered for months because the first doctor ran the wrong test and then blamed me for the symptoms. Angry that I doubted myself. That I internalized the message that I was just stressed, just anxious, just not taking care of myself well enough. Because I was taking care of myself. I was asking for help. I was describing my symptoms clearly. The test was just incomplete, and instead of ordering more tests, the first doctor told me to manage my stress. I wish I'd pushed harder, but I didn't know how. I didn't know what to ask for. I trusted the system, and the system almost failed me. Now, I tell my students something I never told them before. When you know something is wrong, when your body is telling you something is wrong, keep asking questions, keep pushing for answers. Don't accept normal when normal doesn't feel right, because sometimes the first test misses everything, and the second test changes everything. Pain grows in silence until you finally tell the truth.